even though the crisis surrounding the North Korean nuclear weapons has been escalated during the last few years, the issue itself, the North Korean nuclear issue, has been around for at least 25 years. The North Korean nuclear crisis or issue started 25 years ago in 1993 when there was a problem with IAEA's inspection of a small North Korean research reactor in Yongbyon. They found some discrepancy and wanted a clarification from North Korea, and they wanted to do what is called special inspection, which North Korea denied. That led to the first Security Council resolution and a 2-year negotiation between the United States and North Korea, which resulted in the Geneva Agreed Framework in 1994. This agreement was basically the United States, South Korea, and Japan providing nuclear power plant in North Korea in return for North Korea's giving up of any suspicious activities. But this deal broke down in 2003 because the United States and the international community found that North Korea might have been pursuing another way of developing nuclear weapons, which is based on enrichment of uranium. After the deal was broken, they started new negotiation in 2003, which ended in 2005 with the adoption of what is called September 19th Agreement in 2005. I think this joint statement was quite successful. It was very comprehensive. This statement contained all the measures to be taken by the DPRK as well as the other 5 countries in terms of denuclearization of North Korea and also all the compensations the United States, South Korea, Japan, China, and Russia would have given in return for that. Some people might criticize these 2 deals because they were trying to rewarding kind of wrongdoings by North Korea. But actually at that stage, either in 1994 or in 2005, what North Korea did wrong was not anything like serious violation of international obligations. North Korea has not started its nuclear bomb test yet. So before 2006, North Korea's failure was mostly in terms of reporting and mostly in terms of their announcement to leave the non-proliferation treaty. So even though they had a good deal finally in 2005, the next year North Korea went for the first round of nuclear bomb tests. After 2006, North Korea has conducted altogether 6 rounds of nuclear bomb tests. All the tests were underground, and the last test in 2017, which is September last year, the magnitude of the underground bomb test was the biggest, which was 6.3 in the Richter scale, and which was actually bigger than all the previous 5 tests put together. So this probably means that the test in 2017 was either a hydrogen bomb test as claimed by North Korea or something very close to that. This was one of the most serious challenges to the NPT regime, and it triggered a very strong reaction from the international community, including the Security Council of the United Nations. Every time North Korea tested nuclear bombs, the Security Council responded with a new resolution strengthening the sanctions regime. There have been altogether 8 new Security Council resolutions corresponding to 6 rounds of bomb tests and 2 rounds of long-range missile tests. As a result, the DPRK, North Korea, is subject to one of the most robust, comprehensive sanctions regimes in the United Nations history today. For example, there is a ban on North Korea's exports, including coal and seafood, reducing its foreign export by 90%. There is also a ban on oil provided to North Korea. So now about half of all the previous oil imports by North Korea has been prohibited. Under this kind of sanctions, actually there are not too many countries in the world that can last very long. Even though North Korea is not very trade dependent, still its capability to interact with foreign countries, especially in economic way, is very limited. And North Korea's nuclear issue, nuclear crisis, has become one of the greatest global security challenges today. Why is it a global threat? First of all, it is a global threat to nuclear non-proliferation treaty regime. NPT is the today's world. NPT is the most important safeguard against proliferation of nuclear weapons. NPT was concluded in 1970, and basic fundamental rationale for NPT is that all the countries in the world will be able to get nuclear technology by promising not to develop nuclear weapons. So if this basic premise is challenged, the NPT regime itself will be threatened. North Korea is so far the only country in the world that developed nuclear weapons within the NPT system and then announced withdrawal from the treaty. So it's like you get your nuclear technology because you promised not to develop nuclear weapons, and then you change your mind. So you want to have nuclear weapons by using the technology you were able to get because you promised not to develop nuclear weapons. So this is a fundamental challenge and fundamental dilemma which is posed to the efforts to maintain nuclear non-proliferation system. The second threat that comes from North Korea's nuclear weapons is threat to peace and stability in the Asian region, especially Northeast Asia. Because in that part of the world, until now, 3 countries, United States, China, and Russia, were 3 of the 5 nuclear weapon states according to the NPT. And the other countries in the region, such as the 2 Koreas and Japan, did not have nuclear weapons. So in a way, there was strategic balance in Northeast Asia with 3 nuclear weapon states and 3 non-nuclear weapon states. But if North Korea becomes a new nuclear weapon state, then that poses a great challenge to the other non-nuclear weapon states, such as Japan and South Korea. What can these countries do to restore the balance? Because this will change the strategic balance. Well, these countries have only three options. One, they can go nuclear themselves so that there will be new nuclear balance in the region. Two, they can strengthen Americans' nuclear umbrella so that that could be one way of restoring balance. Three, they can persuade North Korea to give up nuclear weapons so that they can go back to the stage where only 3 countries had nuclear weapons and all others did not have nuclear weapons. This third option, going back to the status quo before, is needless to say the most desirable one for any countries in this part of the world. This year, there have been new developments surrounding North Korea's nuclear issue. In November last year, North Korea made a very short official announcement which said the state nuclear power has been completed. That announcement was made right after North Korea tested its third long-range missile last year, which was called Hwasong-15, and this was the end of November. And right after this launch, North Korea declared that the state nuclear capability has been completed. After that, about a month later, on the first day of 2018, North Korean Chairman Kim Jong-un made his New Year's message in which, while he was saying that he has a big button for nuclear weapons on his desk, at the same time he said that he was willing to talk first with South Korea. And he was also mentioning the possibility of North Korea participating in the Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games that was coming up. Next month, actually, North Korea sent its delegation to the Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games, and that gave a momentum for dialogue between South Korea and North Korea. And South Korean envoys in early March visited Pyongyang, met Chairman Kim, and they also visited Washington and met President Trump. And as a result, President Trump agreed to hold a meeting with Chairman Kim in due course, which was realized in June 12th this year. There was this historic first summit meeting between the United States and North Korea in Singapore. And they promised to go for complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. After that, there were a series of meetings and visits to follow on that summit. For example, Mr. Pompeo visited North Korea twice. And in addition to that, South Korean president, after his first summit meeting with Chairman Kim in April, he had 2 more meetings with Chairman Kim, including one in Pyongyang in September. There have been agreements both in the summit between Mr. Trump and Chairman Kim in Singapore, and also in the meeting between President Moon Jae-in and Chairman Kim Jong-un in Pyongyang. And both agreements confirmed that the DPRK, North Korea, is committed to work towards complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. The Pyongyang Declaration in September went a step further, and the agreement included the North Korea's willingness to permanently dismantle the missile engine test site, as well as to take additional measures such as the permanent dismantlement of nuclear facilities in Yongbyon as the United States takes corresponding measures. And the recent visit by Mr. Pompeo to Pyongyang and meeting with Kim Jong-un is now giving us a possibility of a second summit between Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim Jong-un. Well, everyone hopes that this new upcoming summit will provide a more decisive momentum in achieving denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, especially in prompting North Korea's actions to get rid of its nuclear weapons. Well, expectations are mixed. Some people have more optimistic prospects, while some others don't. But in my opinion, roughly we can think of two possibilities, two outcomes from these ongoing talks. If two scenarios in a way, if North Korea is genuinely willing to pursue denuclearization, I think even though there might be some ups and downs between North Korea and United States, for example, in terms of who does what first, eventually it's going to be okay. Eventually they will settle the issue. Eventually they will be able to agree on the synchronized measures to be taken by both sides as North Korea abandons its nuclear weapons. So that's a good, optimistic prospect. On the other hand, some people still have suspicions. So scenario B might be that North Korea is willing to forego everything but nuclear weapons. So if they try to stick to their weapons and they are willing to give up all other things like future development of nuclear weapons, like test sites, test facilities, even nuclear production facilities. But if they try to safeguard, keep some of the nuclear weapons they already have, then I think it's going to be a much longer process. Even in this scenario, I don't think North Korea will be able to do that. Eventually, they will have to give up nuclear weapons. But there will be push and pull, there will be ups and downs, there will be prolonged negotiations, there will be escalated tension, there will be efforts to bring back to the negotiation. So that will probably foresee a prolonged process for the settlement of nuclear issue. But either way, my view is that North Korea will have to give up nuclear weapons, and it's very likely that Chairman Kim Jong-un and the North Korean leadership by now understand that they will have to give up nuclear weapons in order to go for economic development in North Korea. Economic development is extremely important because under the current international sanctions, North Korea might survive. But survival is not a goal for a country. You know, people in North Korea might be able to muddle through under the surviving conditions. But nowadays, even people in the streets of Pyongyang, they know that things are changing outside North Korea. They know that in China, people are, starting to enjoy economic prosperity. Chinese people have cell phones, they have cars, they make foreign trips. So their life is changing for good. So the people in North Korea, in the past probably they thought they have similar living environment as Chinese. But as the things are changing outside North Korea, there is strong need for economic development in North Korea. I think the North Korean leadership now understand this. So sticking to nuclear weapons, keeping nuclear weapons does not give North Korean leadership security guarantee. Economic development, giving their own people better life, will give the North Korean leadership, North Koreans in power, more security in terms of the future of the country. Because I believe that's what is commonly shared at this stage among all of us, including the North Korean leadership. I think eventually North Korea will go for denuclearization and try to choose economic prosperity. And in the process, we in South Korea can be of help. We can play the role of compass for North Korean government and people in how they should chart their new course for their future. Thank you.